All right, let's start. Hello everyone. Welcome to our first ever sandpit for the Research Summit. We've never had research summits before. That's the first sandpit. I'm Ksenia Chmutina, the director of the Institute of Advanced Studies. I think all of you kind of know about the IAS, but I will repeat nevertheless that the Institute of the Advanced Studies is really kind of the Loughborough's place for exciting and interesting conversations and collaborations. We very much encourage interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, post-disciplinary engagements that allow Loughborough academics to explore and engage with fellows from all around the world. I know that some of you who are joining us today, you have in fact hosted IAS fellows. And research summits is yet another mechanism to enhance these collaborations that we already have been trying to build for a few years. So you may remember the themes that we've been running for the past 6, I guess, years. So these were kind of year-long activities, right, that kind of peaked at different points during the academic year. And the very last theme has, in fact, finished last week in London, and now we're moving to summit. So the research summits are slightly different in a way that they will be delivered, and the purpose of the research summit is also slightly different from what we're trying to do with themes. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what it is we're trying to do. Sorry, I just skipped the slide accidentally, and then we will talk about the practicality summit. So with our research summits, we are encouraging Loughborough academics to bring different scholars, policymakers, artists, activists, community leaders to Loughborough University to work on ambitious and an innovative research agenda. So something that hasn't really been tackled before and something that you want to explore with your fellows. And research summit should provide a long-lasting kind of legacy of outcomes and impact. So it's not just a series of events that you would run and then everybody will forget about it. This is about developing new ways of collaboration, new relationships, as well as different pathways for collaborative future research projects or publications, or perhaps even artistic representation. And so the creativity and the innovation of the ideas, as well as the legacy of the research summit, are very important. So this would be kind of some of the key criteria that we will be discussing with you. And the point of the summit is to really bring disciplines together so the research questions can be answered from a transdisciplinary perspective. There are 2 ways to explore this opportunity. So we have a speculative summit route. Speculative route allows you to bring fellows and open a dialogue that is basically horizon scanning or blue sky thinking. So you don't really need to have research collaboration. It is about this kind of speculative leap forward in order to develop novel areas of research or novel ways of approaching research. And the extensive route is slightly different. So extensive route would be built on the collaboration that you already have, but it doesn't reiterate the existing collaboration. It kind of brings a new angle to the collaboration that you already have. So it would allow you to either extend or completely transform the understanding of the research area that you're already working on. So it's kind of a step change in the research area, if you wish. So how are we going to deliver that? Research summit is already said, they are transdisciplinary in nature. And so they would require at least 2 co-leads plus 2 other coordinators. So overall 4 people who would be coming from at least 2 disciplinary areas. So that is the key point. You would have to work with somebody from perhaps even different school to you. As a part of the research summit, you will be able to bring 3 to 5 international fellows. Kind of much depends on the budget, but also on the topic and kind of what it is you're trying to achieve with the summit. And you will also be able to engage other Loughborough academics, but they will not be leading the project. So there will be 4 people working on the research summit, and other can be engaged as and when you wish them to be engaged. As I already said, the legacy of the outcomes and impact are really important here. And that's why for the research summit, we will be working together with the policy unit. And so we kind of foresee that one event, for instance, will be supported and maybe even co-delivered with the policy unit that is led from Loughborough, London. So we can really try and kind of help you to develop the impact of the ideas that you have. As I already said, we've never run a summit before, so this is our trial. And the deadline for the summits that we will be running in February to June 2025 is coming up in August. The applications are on the IS website, and we will play with some of this today. But also we're here to support you. So if you're interested in developing, when it comes to that, we will be supporting you and answering any questions, or kind of happy to really help you shape this. We are trialing the idea of the summit with our 2 special envoys, so Shola Falabi and Hiba Osekwasi, who are our special envoys for Sub-Saharan Africa. They will be organizing a research summit in the end of October, I think it's the last week of October, that will be focusing on sustainable development in Africa. We're currently developing a program with them, but what we're trying to achieve there really is how the format would run, because you can imagine kind of a week, a really intensive week of events that will be from kind of research talks to roundtables to workshops to this policy engagements. That's quite a lot of stuff happening at the same time. So they've agreed to be our guinea pigs, so to say. So when it comes to to your research summit, we know exactly what we're doing. We thought it would be a really, really good idea to learn about what it is, kind of in terms of practical issues, what you should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to running the actual summit. And of course, we've never had a summit before. So we've asked Sam Winter, who led the theme for us, to come and perhaps share some insights from the theme, because really, I think the organization of the summit would be very similar. It's just the delivery and the ideas behind that are slightly different. So Sam, over to you. I'll stop sharing my slides so it's so people can see you. And thanks again for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think it's fair to say that probably our theme was one of the sort of work involved was one of the points where sort of IS thought about, perhaps this is so much work that it's started to be too much work to sort of sustain a whole year-long theme, because we sort of basically ran 3 research summit type things, sort of focused on slightly different areas of the theme, but it was a colossal amount of work to sort of sustain all year. So I think it's a really sort of sensible idea to perhaps sort of spread out the work, but also perhaps spread out the opportunity to take on one of these one of these research summits. So that's really good. I would say it is a lot of work, and I think it's really important to have the kind of right team that's on board with that around you as you're sort of forming around these ideas. But saying that, I mean, it is a lot of fun. I mean, I remember meeting people in areas of the university that I really didn't know existed. And I think this is an opportunity to kind of get out there and talk to lots and lots of people. Now, not everybody kind of comes on board for the final event, but I do think the build up is a really interesting period. So I think it's, we held lots of sort of teams meetings. I think we held about 2 or 3 in the sort of build up while we were developing the theme up to the submission, where we just sort of got hold of people and invited them to sort of turn up, and we just sort of talked about some ideas of mutual interest. And we had really good sort of contacts from that, and that sort of sucked in perhaps people from other schools who were interested in the idea. So I think that was a good way of developing the theme. I would say, I think perhaps one of our mistakes was potentially that we tried. I think it's really important to mix together different ideas and different researchers in different disciplines, because that's one of the ways that you can kind of create these new ideas and these new connections, and these sort of interdisciplinary projects out of it. But I would say I think it's really important to have somebody from Loughborough who is committed to kind of hosting that particular international fellow. So I think there were one or two where we invited people who we thought would be a good sort of contribution to the mix of fellows and the mix of discussion over the course of the week. But it's much more difficult to get legacy out of that. And you know, it basically fell to one of our team to sort of, you know, shepherd them round along with everybody else and make sure that they were happy over the course of the week. And less sort of impact and ongoing relationship came out of it. So I think where and I think the gestation theme has done this really well as well. I think it's important to have a mix of ideas and a mix of people involved in the summit and a mix of disciplines. But I do think that shouldn't come at the cost of having a Loughborough connection who actually kind of wants to have that person here and kind of, you know, spend some time with them that week and actually does want to kind of talk about what legacy might arise from their visit. The other thing I would say, in terms of sort of organisation of the week, I think there are some really good. I think it's worth connecting with the sort of IAS team, because I think there's lots of good ideas about the sort of organisation and some events that have run well in the past that either are good at sort of stimulating people, breaking the ice, talking to each other, ways of running events throughout that week. But I would say, I think it's really important not to fill up the week. I think it can be quite tempting to feel as though, you know, there's got to be something every day, you know, morning and afternoon. And it is those times where, you know, you have done something that breaks the ice and that kind of gets people's ideas around out in the open. But, you know, you've kind of taken a trip around the campus, or you've taken them to Bonbon or whatever, and, you know, you're having a chat or you're looking at labs and that sort of thing. And that, I think it's really important to build in that downtime as well, where you can just sort of have a chat. And you know, that's as useful as everything else that you might be doing as well. So I wouldn't kind of overload the week. I think the final thing that I would say is that however early you think that you need to get everything in place, I think, you know, wind it back, you know, a few weeks, because I think it is really important. I think the IS team have really slick and have great support in place to help you advertise things, to get stuff out, you know, to sort of book everything and all of that kind of stuff. But it is really important to kind of advertise stuff in advance so that you can kind of actually get it out into places. And you know, sometimes you kind of need to go and have time to sort of physically get hold of people and say, did you look at that email? Please, can you forward it on to your team now? And have sort of leave yourself time to do that, to kind of really stimulate the attendance that you get at events. So that would be my kind of quick guidance to things to think about.
Amazing. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Sam, and thank you for sharing your experience. Shall we do a quick IS team round of introductions? Laura, I'll start with you.
Hello. So my name's Laura Dale, and I am the Research Development Associate for the IAS, and have been with the IAS for quite some time, in various capacities. So yeah, normally if you've got any questions, feel free to come and ask me. I won't necessarily know the answers, but I might know someone who does.
You normally have the answers as well, so thanks. Kieran.
Yeah, I'm Kieran Teasdale, although I'm on the IAS account at the moment. So I'm more on the events and communication side of things, kind of planning those in. So I'll be chasing anyone for kind of talk titles and abstracts and images, so we can get everything advertised in newsletters and tweeted out and everything appropriately. And I manage the website as well, so they're all on there as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Thank you very much. Connor.
Hi, my name's Connor Higgins. I'm the newbie here. I've been here for just under a year now. My sort of main role is booking the travel and accommodation for fellows and doing any sort of relating expenses to that.
Thank you. Well, I'm the newbiest newbie, you know, so and so these are the people who kind of make everything happen, basically.